Jay, you want to just give me a thumbs up when it says it notification that we're live?
Let's see. Nothing's popping up.
Hell yeah. Thank you, guys. Welcome. Welcome, guys. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Yeah, thank you guys so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm glad to be on.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So yeah, for those who are this first time watching, or just a little quick recap, Jay and I decided to start this a couple weeks ago. We just wanted to provide a subtle distraction or something to give people just a break from everything going on. Just hang out, catch up, have a good time, and we just miss you guys all. Like, we would have just wrapped up the 5th year of the BCTC this past weekend.
Good.
Jay's setting everybody a square, so yes.
It's like DDP, right?
I'm trying my hardest. All I can do is...
Everyone do your yoga.
Colleen's saying there's no sound. Can anybody else? Are you guys hearing the live sound?
Yeah, I can.
I'm hearing it.
For like if you're Facebook Live though, is it picking up?
Yeah, you can hear I got it pulled up here. You can hear it.
All right, perfect,
Yeah.
Sweet, awesome. So hey Colleen, hey Ryan, how's it going? Thank you guys for tuning in.
Greg's
Greg's
what's up?
back.
Jenica, Taylor.
Awesome.
Thank you guys for joining.
Yeah, thank you guys
Look
all
at
for...
this layout that Will put together. Look at that.
Yeah,
Gorgeous.
Huge shout out to David Rollins from Winter House Gaming for helping us just ramp this up and get a bit of a better product and something fun, more sleek and fun for everybody.
I love it. Looks great. Looks professional.
Also huge. I've missed it the first two episodes, but that intro song or music we have and outro was done by our good buddy Jack from Too Late to Hero.
Jack Stoltz.
Yeah, we love Jack. So Jack's another huge nerd, and he's been creating a bunch of free music for people to use for things, and we took him up on the offer. And so Jack, if you're watching, thank you so much for
Jack, we love you, buddy.
For hooking us up. Colleen said we're fine now.
I've been listening to a lot of Too Late to Hear during this stay at home.
Ryan's cooking on the barbecue. Ryan, what you cooking on the barbecue there, sir? Chicken or fish?
You got to take advantage of all the good days.
Yeah, man, it's been like, what was it, like 60 up here today?
Yeah, it was like 60 today, yeah.
First time it's here, isn't it?
It was snowing last week here, so it's...
Right?
Yeah, it's flurried out every week.
Sal, where are you?
New York, Western New York, right by Canada.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So you're up there. You're pretty much in Maine.
Yeah, well, we're Maine light.
Yeah.
What's up, guys?
I like it.
Here again for the Gaming Covers YouTube channel, and today we've got a guide.
Oh, Bob just joined.
Hey,
Who we got?
Bob.
Oh, what's up, buddy?
So
Welcome.
it's got to be like 6 o'clock for him, right? Because he's out in the
Salt
West
Lake.
Coast.
Yeah, Bob's
Yeah,
out
yeah.
in Utah.
I don't even know my geography ananymore.
Beef.
I just call it West Coast.
It's West Coast. Yeah, you're
It's
good.
far enough out there.
Midwest, right?
Hey, Jay, do you want to keep up on comments for us? Because
Yeah.
maybe I can refresh it. I just don't want it to
I got
screw with the live feed.
I got
Basically, my chat thing stopped working.
Jay, it looks like
Good
you're in the
now.
shower.
I'm in the shower. My shower curtain.
Jay, you look like you're in the shower. Ryan, beef, burgers, and dogs. Colleen, packing my bags for work tomorrow. That does not sound like a fun thing to be doing.
Meat packing.
Oh man.
That's great. Well, what do we got here? What do you guys want to jump into? You guys got any topics you want to talk about? Anything that's grinding your gears? Any
Computer grip.
Grind my gears.
Chapping my ass.
Yeah. That really grinds my gears.
Hey, Paul, do you have a lot of people stop by for the curbside pickup tonight, or?
Yeah, we had pretty good turnout here. A lot of people picking up Pokemons coming out Friday, but
That's awesome.
we got in a ton of bulk stuff, and everybody's been itching to get some bulk Pokemon in and start busting new stuff when it comes out Friday. So, yeah, we had quite a few people in. They're doing a lot of trade paperbacks while Diamond's been out, not printing any books. So,
Right.
doing a lot of trade paperback stuff, which is cool because I think everybody gets a chance to maybe read something that they wouldn't normally read or pick up something they've been meaning to get. So
Mhm.
it's kind of fun for me. I see orders coming in for what people want to get and read, and it's either like, oh man, I love that myself, or wow, I got to check that out because I've never heard of it or never read it. So
Mhm.
it's kind of fun to see what's going on and what everybody's picking up on.
Okay.
I got hooked on Nailbiter during this. I don't know if you guys read Nailbiter already.
Mhm.
I've read issue one is probably the furthest I've read, but it's
Oh,
just
man.
it's tough to keep up with
Yeah.
books these days.
I got
Yeah.
hardcore hooked. I'm almost done the last volume of the trade paperback series. I flew right through it. I couldn't put it down.
Because of the quarantine, I've just been watching shows that I've kept putting off. So I just finished The Boys.
Oh
Nice.
yeah, I gotta finish that.
It was amazing.
Did you like it?
Oh, I loved it. I
You
like
read
anything
the
where and that's the funny thing is that I'm a huge Garth Ennis fan. I didn't even know he wrote the book. So now now I want to pick up the trade.
Yeah. It's good. Like, I don't know if I missed something, but like I read the graphic novels and I just felt like it ended at like an abrupt moment. And I haven't finished the show yet. And I don't know if there's more to the comics that I've missed or if that's actually how the comics just end. Like, they just never really went really that far.
He probably got canceled because Garth Ennis had Hitman too, and Hitman just got abruptly canceled. So it's like, comics,
Yeah, right.
But I really want to watch American Gods. Like
Yes.
that's a show I've been putting off for a while, and it's just like now I got all the time. So while I'm drawing, I just put something on and
That's
just
on
jam away.
TLC, right?
American Gods, I think, is Stars.
I'm
Stars,
kidding.
yeah.
I'm kidding.
I don't even know half the shows, half the TV network. I stream everything now. I haven't had cable in like 5 years.
Yeah, cut the
American
cord.
Gods could be badass or it could be a wedding show on TLC. You never
Right,
know.
somebody
nowadays.
just ordered the trade paperback of that last week. I got to come in, and I had to read the back because that was another one I'd never heard of, American Gods. But man, apparently I got to catch up because that's like Neil Gaiman. So I mean, that's like huge stuff right there.
I'm a huge Sandman fan, so I was just like, I gotta watch this show. But it's nice because when I get into comic book shows and it's a comic I haven't read, then I go back and then, like you said, I'll get the trade, and I'm like, become a fan forever. I noticed The Boys was a lot like Max Power. I don't know if you ever read Max Power, but that book was so effed up. But it's all these Marvel characters that I guess Marvel wasn't really using too much, like Hyperion, and just turned them evil. And I thought The Boys was very similar to that. So I was just like, this is a ripoff of Max Power. And then I found out it was a comic. I'm like, oh, okay, never mind. It's not a ripoff. Shauna.
Everything's either like an obvious ripoff or it's actually not a ripoff at all. Like that's
like no in
or it came first. something always comes first, and then you're like, oh, that came first? All right.
Well, I mean, that's the unfortunate part, though, with like nowadays, and it's kind of like, in all reality, this is my philosophy with this stuff. I feel like unless you want to get super screwed up and weird and like graphic, there aren't that, like, what is there really for an original story? And not only what is there for original story, but what can you make an original story that doesn't follow that nice platform that, what do you call it? Like, everything has, like, music, you know, the best songs have a very good formula. That's what I'm thinking of. Best songs, simple songs, it's the formula. Comics, there's a formula. Movies, TV shows, whatever, there's a formula. You have to follow that. You have to have a hero. You have to have a bad guy. You have to have like a love interest. You have to have somebody that used their friend inabruptly to accomplish a goal. And then that person realizes that you were just using them. And then you guys figure out your differences and save the day. Like,
and then you always have the archetype characters, like you got the mentor. It's always like some old hermit. The bad guy
done it, but been out of it for a long time. And,
I think as long as you go to the trope without actually following through with the normal type of trope, where it's like, oh, that's a new spin on it, then I think it'll work. You know, I think that's why Dragon Ball Z has outlasted so long, because it's like, here's the bad guy. One season later, he's part of the team. It's like
right, yeah.
It's like I hated him for a whole season. Now he's my best friend. You know?
Yeah. Now you realize you guys actually work better together than apart. So that's like the goal. That's the life lesson.
Well, I was sitting with my wife the other day. I'm like, I was just thinking about Dragon Ball Z for some weird reason. Just it popped in my head. I was like, I just realized all the villains from Dragon Ball Z all became friends. It's like none of them went off to be like a super villain. They all just, even Frieza, the one that everybody thought was not going to be be a friend to the team, ended up being a friend to the team. So I'm like, she's like, that you just thought of that randomly? I'm like, yeah, it just popped in my head.
Isn't that how we want the whole world to be, right? All the enemies become our friends. Is that peaceful in the world? Dragon Ball Z starting it.
There you go. That's how you get peace in the world.
You want to know what comes into my head, though, and this is the unfortunate part, is I'm almost 35, and when I hear Dragon Ball Z, I just think about it spelt out, that it's Dragon Balls.
That's how you're supposed to say the new video game. The new video game is called Dragon Ball Fighters, but with a Z. And I was like, so that means the show's called Dragon Balls.
Dragon Balls.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. What you doing over there? Oh, you know, just Dragon Balls.
Dragon Balls.
Just watch
Wow,
Dragon
you should probably
Balls.
pick up the pace. You're really Dragon Balls over there.
Just left a dragon skid mark, buddy.
Oh man,
I love it. Will, you got any real questions for these guys?
Yeah, we'll throw on some questions in a second. So let's see. I'll just get caught up. Colleen, I stay at work 63 hours straight. Holy crap. Colleen, what do you do for work? Greg, I'm just smoking the devil's lettuce, in case you guys wanted to know. That was a key piece of information, Greg. Thank you very much. Greg also said he loves The Boys. Ryan says new Hellraiser series coming to HBO.
Nice.
Shauna yelling out to Sal.
Troops aplenty.
Troops aplenty, yeah. So, Sal, just kind of kick it off with you.
Yeah.
You've become, me and Jay were kind of talking with guests we had last episode, how BCTC basically just becomes like one giant family. It starts off as acquaintances or talking, over email or Facebook, but by the time like the weekend's over, it's like people become family, and I think the perfect case with that is your story, your very first year with us. Yeah, move that shower curtain, Jay.
I really expect to see a bathroom behind him. Kind of disappointed.
I'm waiting for someone to be looking in the window.
Anyways, sorry.
Who's that person?
So there's just like Miles floating back there with Superman cape.
I see breath marks.
All I can think about is the shower curtain comment. I'm sorry.
Is that Miles in the back window, Jay? He's just like out there, like.
Oh, no.
Oh,
There's
shit.
somebody in here.
That's the only reason he wanted it on vertical.
Right.
Just so he could do that.
He's been working on this all week.
He's been practicing.
It's like whenever I see a couch, I always have to do the escalator.
Yeah.
Shauna, creeper's gonna creep.
Right.
So yeah.
Oh, they're
Sal,
coming out from all directions.
Oh man. So Sal, yeah, first BCTC year one, you were there and quickly became, a fan favorite. And by the time year two came around, you had overfilled your panel room and had, probably one of the longest lines at the convention. What was that experience like for you?
Oh, that was crazy because it was all new to me. That first year, I think that was only like my third convention I've ever done. So it was like I didn't know what I was doing. So it's like just take it little by little. But I think I was that year I had a bunch of free prints, so I was giving those out, and then I had the book. I barely had anything at my table. So I was just like, oh, I'm just going to have to just talk to people. And I think I just made so many friends because it's such a small, it was such a small community, not in like size wise, but everybody knew each other. So it's like, I talked to one person, he's like, oh, I got to show you my buddy. And then brings all these people and then all the after parties. And I think by the second year I had kind of connected with everybody on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. So when the second year came around, everybody was like, "Oh, Sal's back." I'm like, "Whoa, I'm just a guy. I just draw. It's nothing special." So it was like night and day. Like the first year, I didn't know anybody, and I got to know Bangor really well because I walked the whole town for like the whole night. But the second year is. Oh man.
So
my feet hurt just from thinking about that night because I walked all of Bangor.
So not only did Sal walk all of Bangor, he walked from the venue all the way up to Justin, where OBC is, and didn't realize where he was.
Because I got a really cheap hotel that year, so I stayed at like the Motel 8 by the airport. And so I left I think it was Sea Dog. I left there and I was just like, okay, I stayed at the airport, so let me just follow the airplane. And I was like, I'm going to get mauled by a bear because I got to this area. By luck, this one taxi driver just drove by. He's like, hey, you lost? I'm like, yeah, I don't know where I'm going. And my cell phone died, and I was just like, yeah, I'm at the airport. I'm at the Motel 6, I think it was. But the next day, I was in so much pain. I was just like, I don't want to walk anywhere. But it was so much fun. I had a blast. And the second year was even better because it was just like I knew everybody. I knew my way around town. Everybody kind of like, hey, Sal, you got to come with us. And it was a blast. I every time I go up there, I get giddy every time I pass the New Hampshire border, and I know I'm going. I know I'm coming into Maine.
Across that bridge, you roll down that window, and you just like
I can breathe.
there, you know, different.
Home.
My stuffy nose is New York. As soon as I get into Maine, I'm like, it's like Spaceballs.
Yes, yes. Well, we're super glad to have you. We're very, very happy that you've come up. We can't wait for you to come up and hang out again. It doesn't always have to be for a convention. You know, you can actually just come up and hang out with us when this is all over with, of course.
Yeah.
Please don't come into our state right now.
Yeah, don't even think about coming here right now.
Yeah, I got my friend Rona.
Maybe we can get you up for a weekend event over at Paul's shop.
There you go.
All right.
I've been working on yeah. So prior to all of this happening, I was working with Paul on setting up like once a month, having a different artist or creator, do like a day at the shop, come in, teach a class, do like a little panel type thing. Then obviously that all got put on hold. But I mean, we obviously love to have you back up here anytime.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is like, every time I come back, I'm always telling my wife like everything I did. She's just like, I want to go so bad. And I'm like, it is an exhausting drive. So I was like, if we do go, we're gonna have to like plan it out where we have like an extra day padding on each end,
Right.
so that way,
Yeah, definitely.
it's just 2 days of just travel, because you don't want to drive for 9 hours, only stay there for a day, and then drive another 9 hours back. It's just exhausting.
I was gonna ask. I was gonna guess 8 hours. So it's like 9 hours for you to get here.
Yeah, because it's funny because if you look at the map, it's if there was a straight road going across, it would only be 3 hours. But I have to drive across, then down, then cross Massachusetts, and then Massachusetts. It's like I love the Red Sox, but it's the worst state to drive in. I just
I
lived there for 10 years. I lived there for 10 years.
Yeah,
it's the worst. And then you get the speed pass, or what? The easy pass, Bill.
Pass, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, holy crap! This is all Massachusetts.
Yeah. And then you stop in New Jersey for one big toll, and then you're gone.
Really?
Dude, there was one time I was going through New Jersey, and I want to say I had like $26 on me, and I think my toll was $23.
Oh.
I was just like, what am I supposed to do if I run into another toll? I don't have any more money.
That's why I love the easy pass. But as soon as they withdraw it, you're like, where did this come from?
Yeah.
Because New York State, like if I drive from Rochester to Buffalo, it's like $1.95. So it's like, oh, that's nothing. But you do that a couple times back and forth, and it does add up. So that's like the worst part is just the travel. Like if I could come see you guys, I would have just met you over there. Like just wear my scorpion mask.
You got a scorpion one?
Stay over there. No, I have a Kylo Ren one and a Darth Vader helmet, but
Nice.
I was thinking about wearing it to the supermarket, but that would probably be like super weirded out.
Dude, at this point, you're good because I've seen people wearing Darth Vader masks. I've seen people wearing Deadpool masks. I've seen people wearing, when people cut down trees and they have those big plastic barriers.
Yeah.
I've seen people in Walmart wearing those. Whatever, dude.
I saw a guy, like, it looked like he just came from, like, doing construction work, and he had one of those actual respirator masks.
The two on the side.
I've seen a couple of those too.
He got off the job and just went to Hannaford.
I actually went on Amazon and I was looking for Bane's mask from The Dark Knight Rises because I'm like, I could totally rock that.
Yeah.
I spent a solid hour and a half last night trying to find Something's Killing the Children mask. Seeing if I could get one of the motorcycle style ones with the fangs and the teeth, but I couldn't find one anywhere.
Well, I told my wife, I'm like,
you make one, man.
Just make one.
I know, right?
Yeah, Shauna, get on that. We need you to make some masks for us.
I feel like at this point, it's like whatever you can get that's going to like, you've got live videos, people being creative, and like different masks that are thriving right now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
those are like
definitely.
the things to do. So go
Cobra-
for it. Paul.
Cobra Commander would be dope too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just look in the
Yeah.
mirror. It's like mirror to mirror.
Would it just be the logo? Did he have the logo over the mask? I can't remember.
That was like or like later on. The original Cobra Commander was just like a big glass.
Yeah, the big
like,
reflective shield.
yeah, big reflective shield.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
had like the tablecloth cut up there.
Yeah.
It was a big close-in fencing mask.
I think that was Slice, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I know my G.I. Joe.
Yeah, man, definitely.
I didn't get into G.I. Joes that much, to be honest with you.
Me
Like,
either.
I watched it a little bit, but I never really got into it.
Well, this is the thing. Growing up as a wrestling fan, I think the big thing that helped me get into G.I. Joe was Sergeant Slaughter. And then there was a special episode with Mr. T and Hulk Hogan in it. So I was just like, oh, wrestlers are G.I. Joes too. All right, cool. And then I got it. You know, you're a dumb kid. You don't know the difference.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
All right, Paul, I got a question for you, but again, we've got a ton of comments coming in, so I'm just going to catch up on those really quick.
All right.
Sal, Shauna said she's been following you since year one. She says, bring your wife. I probably wouldn't if Shauna's been stalking you. Let's see. Johnny, welcome, Johnny. Thank you for tuning in again. He says, beware our flock of moose. And hello, chaps. Glad to see another episode. And I just realized I have fabric for a Deadpool mask. Shauna said I made a Cobra Commander inspired mask.
Nice.
Joe Ellen, do we have to have a beard to be in this huge group? You do not have to have a beard. But
Oh, look at Sal.
I got a tin strap.
it was funny because
I thought it was just a shadow.
one of the last episodes. One of the last episodes we did, somebody's like, "Oh, you guys should like name one of the episodes like beards and booze," because all of us had a beard, and then Shauna was dressed up in her Bouette outfit. And I was thinking like, "Oh, we can name that tonight's episode," and I was like, "Oh, wait a minute, close enough, right?"
We could just call it face pubes because
beard. Beards.
You're starting a new podcast just called Face Pubes.
Beards,
for-
booze, and face pubes.
it's for guys that cannot grow a full beard. If I let this grow out, I look like a 1700s bartender. You know, where it goes all across.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do it.
What can I get for you?
Jade's is actually pretty small right now.
Yeah, right. This is like the tiniest my beard has been in so long.
And then you're gonna have people coming out like Castaway after this quarantine.
Well,
It's like, are you part of ZZ Top?
Yeah.
Jay went into it like Castaway, but then he realized
Yeah.
he needed to have to wear the mask. He needed to trim up the beard some.
Oh, man, that's the worst part is when I put on the mask, all this facial hair just gets so itchy. You're
Yeah,
like,
well,
all of it, yeah.
facial hair.
Look at all
All
that facial hair over there.
there.
Oh, anyways, hey Paul. So you just opened up a physical store for Galactic Comics. How long ago?
I did that November 30th. It was our big first opening day. So
Nice.
we were going right along pretty well, and then the kind of Corona apocalypse hit. But
What do you mean? It's not that big a deal.
Yeah, I was just at your shop earlier today.
I know I honked the horn when I drove by.
Yeah, I thought
Yeah.
I thought that was.
What's funny is I was dropping my car off at the mechanic, and I was in my fiance's car. We were driving back, and the funny thing is, when I dropped my car off at the mechanic, I don't have a horn. My horn doesn't work in my car. So like we were in her car, I was like, "Oh my god, I can actually hit the horn!"
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Paul, tell
it's
us.
gotta be tough to have a shop just open
Yeah.
and then all this happens, you know.
So, yeah, it definitely didn't help. And then, so the first we're gonna physically have to close and be able to do our curbside service. So we still got that going. But I thought, all right, I'm gonna be okay because I can still get weekly comics. We'll get weekly comics in, no problem. And then Diamond's like, hey guys, so we're gonna go ahead and shut this off.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, all right, I'm screwed.
Yep.
I really hope that this puts Diamond out of business so somebody else can kind of take over, or if Disney and DC can just start going directly to the shop owners, because
Right?
Diamond's the worst.
That one caught me off guard. I am super, super thankful for my my Galactic comic family that has been following me through this. And I'd said, hey, we can do trade paperbacks. Diamond has plenty of them, and people jumped on super quick and started getting me orders to keep me going. A lot of support, a lot of people saying, hey, you know, we want to make sure you're ready to go at the end of this, and we don't want to see anything happen to you. So between that and people are still getting Pokemon. That's a big thing we do, and they've been building decks and getting stuff for their kids. I know one of my regulars is like, hey, man, how many can you get me so I can bribe my kids with it every time that I need something done? They're like, look what I got here. I got another one. So that's been super, super awesome.
That's how I got through high school, but it was wrestling.
Yeah.
Like my dad was like, if you get on a roll, I'll get you tickets to Monday Night Raw.
Nice.
Well, when I was younger, I babysat. And when I was babysitting, I'd get all the money I would get, and I'd go to the card shop. And I was on Hammond Street. Was there a card shop on Hammond Street behind where Angelo's Pizza is?
Yeah.
This is back, like, I don't know, 15, more than that, 20 years ago.
What was it called?
Was it Wizard something?
Yeah,
Wizard's Den?
I can't remember if it was Wizard. It might have been Wizard's Den. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wizard's Den.
But I'd go there and I'd spend like $150, $200 I got in the week on Pokemon cards. Guess how many I have now? Zero.
That's how much I'm spending now.
I would say I feel like that's what I just spent on Chelsea at Paul's today.
Well, I literally
buy Platinum for the DS so I could play Pokemon on my DS. But
I literally just got the last 2 trainer boxes, and then they released this one, and I'm like, crap. Now we got to get this set. It's like
I know, it's like finally getting like Chelsea caught up with like the Sword and Shield stuff, and then Rebel Clash came out. And I'm like, son of a bitch.
Well, my kids just want to get V's and V Maxes. All I want is that golden Zacian. I was just because I want to trade with my daughter. She has Zamanet. Yeah, and I'm like, we're gonna trade when I get Zacian.
Heck yeah.
I just gotta get Paul my list of comics that I want, so you can start keeping your eye out.
Oh hell yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've been doing quite a bit still with backstock too, which I've been slacking a little bit. I'll admit, I've been busting it to get the store open. So when everything happened, I was like, you know what? I can take a little breather. I can see my wife and kids for a little bit. So I've been kind of sitting back a little bit. We've been taking care of what we need to. Oh hey, there's a dog.
This is local.
But you got a dog.
Did Will just anamorph?
By the way, there's a dog.
Bestiality.
Well.
He's been sitting here he's been like sitting here like trying to get up in my lap, so he finally just decided to jump up.
Many times.
And you got a really good microphone. I can hear like every little lick from that one.
That wasn't even that dog. It was another dog.
Yeah,
that was Jay.
That was a dog. The other dog. Yes.
All right, ready?
I think Pokemon's been what has really helped us get through the quarantine, because we have like a Dollar Tree right near my house, so we just get those Dollar Tree packs.
Yep.
And we're just always getting those.
Not me.
It's crazy because I feel like there was like this arc like where Pokemon cards that were like it died down a little bit, and then this has almost like been a resurgence of Pokemon more recently. Probably with Pokemon Go. I probably had that idea that people learned about Pokemon who didn't even know. The people I used to get frustrated when I was starting to play that game. And all these people who had never even heard about Pokemon until this game came out, and all the servers are crashing, and people are freaking out. I'm like, hey, this is my childhood. I don't want to hear you talk about Pokemon. This is my grew up on.
Well, the icing on that cake was that they not only released that, but they were like, And by the way, we're gonna release The Lion King and Aladdin on Xbox and whatever. And it's just like that shit was so frustrating before. Like I don't know how many people are just like, yeah, I can't wait to play this on Xbox and get just as frustrated about trying to jump on those hippo tails and spinning off of them.
I never beat that game.
No,
I still think WWE right now should re-release like a HD version of WWE No Mercy. I'd never leave the house, but online play so you can play with your friends.
Like I feel like most companies could do that now with a lot of the old games, like Spyro and Crash Bandicoot and all that stuff. Just remaster them.
Yeah, you got a skeleton crew. Be like, hey, just turn this old 64 game into an Xbox game.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the difference with the wrestling ones though is you're kind of thinking, all right, like Warzone. You remember on PS1?
Oh, that was horrible.
Warzone. And that Stone Cold on the front. What was super popular about that? I think it had a blood match or first blood match and a Hell in a Cell. So that was like groundbreaking. So now it's like, well, all those games have it. So it's kind of like, what would be so cool about re-releasing that game?
I remember, like, I think it was 4 or 5 years ago, I had just got my Xbox One, and I was like, I used to play like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater and all those old games. And I had played Skate or something like that. And so I was like on eBay, I bought Dave's Mirror BMX.
Yes.
And it was for Xbox. And I threw it in there. I got sick because of how good the graphics are nowadays in video games and how smooth the transitions are and all that stuff. When I put in the old game, it was so jarring when he's doing friggin' face tricks. It was like, oh my God, I'm gonna throw up. So some of these old
they look
jarring.
like
That's how crappy the old game.
It looks like Thanos snapped it.
About Max Payne. Remember when Max Payne first came out? That was like groundbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
And now you look back on those little square faces that are on there, and you're just like, wait, that's a face?
Your Dooms and old games like that, where it's like, you know they're going to be that bad. There's like this round that, like, you know, like you were saying, the groundbreaking part was a portion of the game they created, not the graphics, not what you could do on it. It was the portion, you know, Hell in a Cell or something like that in the actual game. Nowadays, it's like you need to have graphics, or we've done everything. What else is there to do?
Well, I think what people loved about No Mercy was just how deep the game was. It's like you could customize everything in there.
Hardcore.
It's like SmackDown, or what's it called now? 2K. It's like you hit the same button and you get a new move. It gets boring after a while. So I was just like, please bring that back. I'll never leave my room again.
Yeah.
But I haven't done the opposite, where you buy games or buy older things and you put it in, or some sort of old movie or TV show that you remember from a kid, and you put it in and you're like, what the hell am I watching? Why am I like loving this? Plus, things are longer or shorter now. When I was younger, I remember watching Elvis the Rockin' Reindeer. It was a Christmas claymation movie that we had on VHS. And it was this reindeer that like listened to music and like was like the oddball reindeer, like Rudolph or whatever. But I watched it thinking it was like an hour-long movie. Put it in, it's like a 20-minute TV show, and it's like, oh, this is over already.
But then there's the opposite too. It's like movies that you thought sucked as a kid. Yeah. You rewatched it now and you're like, man, that was really good. Like Three Ninjas, I always thought was cheesy as a kid, but now I watch it again. I'm like, man, I really love this movie.
Rocky, Colt, and Tum Tum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Miss them.
I've always wanted to do like a remake of that, but with my daughters. So I would just create like a third one, and then
do it, man. You got to do it now.
All right.
I can lend you one if you need to borrow one.
I'm good.
Paul's auctioning off his kids.
Good. What was amazing as a kid?
Auction anymore.
One, but
amazing as a kid, but still kicks ass as the X-Men cartoon show.
Oh yeah,
90s X-Men cartoon show. Still holds up.
Like that voice, that is Wolverine's voice. It's like everyone talks about Hugh Jackman, and I'm like, no, it's Chris. Or I think it was his name is Jay Dodd or something like that.
They were all Canadian.
Yep.
Like everybody on that was Canadian.
Everything in Canada is better.
Yeah,
it's just so great because it took so many great storylines from the comic books and just put it into animation so you can just watch it. You know, it's something like the old, like the scripted podcast we have now with like Wolverine, The Long Night, and stuff like that. But it was like that, but you could actually see it on the screen and watch what you read, you know, the Days of Future Past or whatever, but it was on the screen. And it was almost a direct take from the comic book, whereas like comic book movies nowadays, which I love, are just like adaptations of what they perceive the comic book would be or whatever. That was like almost direct from the pages to the screen.
Yeah, now it's like they take like a third of it and be like, all right, we'll kind of fill in the rest here and there with stuff to keep entertaining for everyone. Versus,
that was what we just talked about with Watchmen the other day.
Yeah,
everything on the Watchmen is almost like they use the comic as a storyboard.
Well, I was like, you had also talked with Bob about, you know, who is Thanos or what is Thanos. You know, we got into this, you know, this long discussion, but then you see like, you know, in the Marvel movies, you know, that version of Thanos is almost completely different from, you know,
he's like a god.
Yeah, from what it was. Hey Corey, thank you for tuning in. Corey was a guest last week from the main Ghostbusters.
Corey, what's up, dude?
Paul, Ryan wants to know if you have any Spawn 300.
Spawn 300. I think I got a few left in backstock right now. Yeah, I got a couple of the variants. I may still have the Virgin variant in stock.
I have all of them.
Or you can go to Justin.
So Ryan,
I want them though. I'm not selling them though. I want them.
So yeah, Ryan, if you're still watching, Paul does have a few.
Justin has all of them.
And Justin has all of them, but he will not let you have them.
I just want to let you know that I had all of them.
So go see Paul or message Paul on Galactic Comics on Facebook, right, Paul?
Yep. The easiest way to find me right now is just go right through our Facebook page. If you haven't liked it already, drop us a like, shoot us a message, and I try to keep track of it all as well as I can.
I like the comment about Phoenix.
From Johnny.
It's funny. It's funny too because the cartoon is the reason why I like Bishop. Because in the comics, I hated Bishop, but I was like, the cartoon Bishop's so much better.
He's badass, the cartoon.
The comic Bishop is like, oh, you're just a knockoff Cable. Like I don't.
Yeah, right? I was so confused by Bishop for a long time. I was just like, yeah, are you like another version of Cable? I'm so confused by her. Yeah, I can't keep up with it. I haven't even watched the newest X-Men one because I know it's gonna or it did bomb. You know.
Yeah, I had to watch it. I mean, every Marvel movie I have to watch, but it's not one of those ones where I'm like, oh yeah, I own that because I usually buy them when I get a Marvel movie. But like, I have it in my collection, but I'm like, when am I actually going to watch this movie ever again? You know, like at least my fiance and I rewatched all the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies in a podcast called the Friends from Work podcast. We watched it in their order, and they had the commentary episodes on each movie. And we ranked them and all that stuff. I could see myself doing that again and again and again and again. I just don't see myself with 90% of the X-Men universe. Like literally,
First Class is probably the only good X-Men movie. I think.
So there's a few that you might watch just for key parts of it.
Yeah,
but I feel like most of them, I just like the Deadpool movies. That's probably the only movies that I'll watch again from that universe. And the Dark Phoenix one was just good.
I've always said this, but I feel like live action will never be as good as animation. And that's the thing is like people are always going to say box office, but I was like, they built upon that for so many years. Cartoons though, like they can adapt the comic almost shot for shot. Whereas a movie, it's like Green Lantern, you just made freaking Parallax this floating fart. It's like in a cartoon, you can actually show the real Parallax, and you can show, that's why when they keep remaking all these Disney movies in live action, I was like, just give it to the Disney Animation Studio and just have them make it look like Frozen, but retell the old story, because it's not going to age as good as original animation. But stop trying to make everything live action. And like the Lion King, I watched that new one. It was horrible.
It's creepy.
Yeah,
like, it's very creepy.
It's really creepy. I'm like,
It's
okay,
just
I'm
animals.
not drunk enough for this right now. This is way too weird. But
it is truly
that's why
animals.
Spider-Verse is so good. It's because of the fact it was like the borderline almost not live action, but it was like it was a mixture of everything, and they were able to succeed with it in the box office. When we went and saw it, my fiance went and saw it. We watched it on the street. We were mesmerized by how good it was, and it was because they could do the flips and all those things. I mean, they could do that Spider-Man actually doing Spider-Man and different characters. And the Kingpin. There's no way they could make a Kingpin look like that in real life.
Yeah,
And-
right.
So are you
You can
saying
do
that
the-
Daredevil Kingpin is not good? Is that what I'm getting from you right now?
I don't know.
I mean, the Ben Affleck Daredevil is kind of the epitome of. No, I got nothing.
Well, if you, I always do like the decade test. Like 10 years from now, if you watch a movie, how do you think it's going to hold up? And you look at Iron Man now, and you could just see how bad the CG has aged.
Yeah,
But
we
but
just
Spider-Man,
watched
Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse 10 years from now, it's going to look the same way you remember it. It's like,
Right.
I just don't think I think animation is just one of those things that are forever a time capsule. It's going to look amazing no matter what. You could watch 1940s animation and you're like, that still looks good. It's a little janky, but like you could see how crisp everything is, and they can clean it up. You can't clean up somebody's bad acting,
And the thing about like some of those old movies you watch, like you're watching great, just acting between two characters, and then they do some CGI, and you're like, that looked like CGI. There's never a moment in that in an animated film, because in an animated film, it's all of that. So there's no mix between real life and CGI. It's all animation. So like your smoothness of everything, how everything coagulates together is just so much better in an animated film.
Well, it's like when Disney releases those old movies out of the vault and they remaster it. It's like you can see how good the things look, because now you have the technology to make the animation look even better. But then you got stuff like George Lucas going back and taking Star Wars and just adding poop to it, and it's like, once you put poop on something, it smears everything.
It stinks once you put poop on it.
Those Dragon Balls.
Skid Mark Z. What is your wish?
Just get a Z on it. It's fine. All right. What do we got? Best Kingpin actor was Michael Clark Duncan. You think so? Really?
I've been told.
I think
Storm.
who could pull off Kingpin is the Mountain from Game of Thrones. Because you don't have to see much. Just have him wear a suit. He's huge.
See, I'm super jaded right now because of watching Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse. That Kingpin was massive. I mean, caught a car and threw the car. It was able to just take Spider-Man and smush him. I don't know how I feel about that. Like, when has Kingpin always been just this insanely massive person that could catch a car thrown at him?
Well, if you read like Frank Miller Daredevil run, he has like an adamantium layer of skin under him.
Huh.
So it's like every iteration is a little different. In the Spider-Man animated cartoon, like from the 90s, like that one, he was just like supernaturally strong.
Yeah.
It's like Spider-Man would fight him, and he's like, I can't hurt this dude. But then
his superpower was being bald. That's what his superpower was.
He's a Frank.
He's bald. This Paul. Paul's got it.
Try and catch a car.
I vote Paul for the next Kingpin. Paul.
Oh man!
I can't tell you how many Spider-Man I've killed just today alone. I mean,
It's funny with this. I'm rereading the Ultimate Spider-Man by Brian Michael Bendis right now, and and it's just so funny to see him try to explain to people that he got bit by a radioactive spider. They're like, sure, again. Someone else did. Brian Michael Bendis is my favorite comic books, and I just that whole Marvel Ultimate comic books when Miles Morales was introduced is really good.
Yeah, I love his work. It's fantastic. He did some great stuff. I got to read Dark Avengers. It's one of my next one. It is a pickup.
Dark Avengers was Bendis.
He had a good series run of it because then he went into Siege,
Mm-hmm.
which was I love the Siege.
Yeah, I have the Siege run too. It was tough because that was around that time where like Marvel kept doing all these small events,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just like so hard to keep up with everything because there was the Illuminati around that same time, and it's just like I'm like, dude, I can't keep buying these books. And at the time, I was like on disability, like I couldn't afford anything, so I was just like, I kept telling my comic shop, I'm like, yeah, just hold the books on for me.
But see, those story arcs kind of what got me back into comic books too, though. Like when Secret Event or Civil War was coming out, and Secret Invasion. Those, you read from one Marvel comic book, you read the Mighty Avengers, and you see a battle, and then you go and read like the New Avengers or Iron Man or something else, and you see that same battle but from the opposite side of it.
That's pretty cool.
All connected in this whole thing, and it's like it felt like it never ended. It felt like your video games have open world concept that you just can go from all over the place. And comics, like obviously also they got me and they hooked me by buying every single title that had that miniseries over the top of it. But I've learned since then to pull off and not do your oddball ones. I buy the main, storyline ones and some other oddball ones, but not like your super oddball ones.
Yeah, I made that.
Complete some of those in the trade paperback form, like because they do the trade backs too that way. So like Secret Invasion, I can't even remember. I think it's like 30 or 40 trade backs of these random small ones you got to get if you're going to piece the whole thing. And,
if you open
I still haven't gotten all of them.
Marvel Unlimited app, there's 138 different books that are in Secret Invasion.
Wow.
Like, it's insane how many books that you could have bought into it. But then I'm like, I've never read a Hercules comic book ever in my life. Back when I first got back into comic books, I would have been like, I'll buy the Hercules. Now I'm going to go to the shop. I'm going to go swing by Galactic. I'm not going to actually buy the Hercules one. Sorry. But I'm likely going to buy the Mighty Avengers one or the Iron Man one or something like that. But, like, I'm not buying a Hercules comic book.
I made that mistake with Blackest Night when that whole event was going on. Yeah, but I bought the Blackest Night JSA, the Green Lantern Corps, and some of them, this stuff was going on during the events, but they were completely separate, and you're like, I wasted.
How did I get this? Yes.
Yeah. Slap that Blackest Night logo on it, be like, oh, they're gonna buy it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I bought all the Brightest Days, and I'm like, oh crap! I fell into the trap again.
And that's one of my favorite things about when I was, obviously but I'm a Walking Dead fan. So when I read The Walking Dead, it was like, okay, that's a nice thing about that one is there's one comic book that comes out once a month. I read that one comic book. It's in the chronological order. And same thing with I'm a Spawn fan, and Spawn was the same thing. One comic book for a while. I mean, there is this, Brian Michael Bendis did do a Sam and Twitch, offshoot and stuff like that, but there is mostly just Spawn. And it's like you don't have to worry about it. So there's both sides of it. Like that small mini series thing helps, but also having a book that you can read that's just this one title you're waiting for once a month.
I'm still hoping to get the Spawn movie back to going. I'm not sure what the last news was on that, but if that is completely dead or not yet. It's been like up and down. I feel like McFarlane's like walked off once I know, but the original talk of doing this in like a true horror form, and having Spawn very much like not visible, I feel like would be killer because you could get more of that HBO anime feel from it, and not so much like the live action one where it was like bang in your face, and then you look at it and be like, this really doesn't look as good on film as I would have really hoped for it. And I feel like no matter what, that stuff just never gonna look that great when you see it, and you want to see Spawn just completely in the background, just dark and black. And then we have Jay.
I have a question.
Okay.
Is there a part of the Spawn series where his cape is more of a character, or is that a weird question?
I feel like
He's not Doctor Strange, man.
Yeah, but his cape like has his own. His cape is like his own entity, though.
right? It doesn't necessarily have its own personality like Strange does, but I feel like that's legit.
I almost feel like they could do something like that, where the cape kind of almost takes on its own host, and
It's like Ghost Rider.
Right.
Yeah, literally.
Symbiote takes
Ghost
off at one point and clicks onto
Writer
somebody.
or Ghost Rider?
Ghost Rider.
Because
I like the
anybody
idea of Ghost
remember
Rider.
Ghost Rider?
Oh,
Does
absolutely.
anybody remember that?
Yeah, UPS kids.
Is that on TV? Can we find it anywhere? Is it streaming anywhere?
Just
Oh my
confirmed.
God,
Carmen
I don't
Sandiego
know.
movie.
Yes.
Oh man. Hey, so we
But
got Mark saying Spider-Man 2099 had the most believable origin story. Dave Rollins from Winter House is joining in. He says, "Hi, Paul. I love
Dave.
Spawn." Dave, I think you were probably streaming earlier, so you missed it, but we did give a nice little shout out to you and Winter House Gaming for the awesome layout that you set up for us. So thank you again so much for that. We appreciate it. We miss you and love you,
Let's
buddy.
say, Dave, I think the glare's coming off of it, but the Spawn Tur baby is still sitting right up there. I'm sure Carrie would be super happy to know. Right there, buddy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that glare's definitely taking it.
Yep, that is bad, isn't it? Yeah, that's the Spawn Tur baby. The giant glowing thing up there, right there, Spawn Tur baby. You know, Dave. You know what I'm talking about. It's right there.
There you go, Dave.
I'll be right back. You
Stimulus
guys
check
continue.
money.
I'll be right back.
Oh, beer break. Drink break.
Jay's gonna go take a shower.
Peel that curtain back
Leave
again.
the curtain open.
You see him peeking in through the window.
It's like a Max Headroom episode. Look what, there's another dimension back there. Yep, it's my shower.
So while we're kind of on the subject of comics turned movies or TV shows, what is your guys' favorite adaptation? What's your favorite? Is it favorite movie, favorite TV show? But which one do you think's really done the comic justice?
Ooh, you guys go first.
That's
All right.
tough because like I said about the whole X-Men, the original X-Men animated show, but the fact that because of I'm a huge Marvel fan, I don't really get into DC pretty much at all. And then, excuse me, but a lot of these comics, because of rights of movies and where people can play and stuff like that, a lot of these movies are not as good. But I have to go back to one of the first things in Iron Man 1. I just, for me, and being a big Marvel fan, and the idea that they were able to make an origin story for a character, but make it more modern. Because obviously Iron Man wasn't in the Middle East in the original comic book when Iron Man was created. Right. But the idea that they were able to make it realistic to the point where you're looking at this going, hey, war in the Middle East, I can connect with that. I see them on the news all the time. Right. And they were able to make that and then have a regular person become, and one of the greatest lines in Marvel Cinematic Universe, I am Iron Man, at the end of that movie. To me, it's always going to be one of those things like Iron Man is Iron Man 1.
For me, I would have to say Thor. So I honestly wasn't a huge Thor guy. I kind of got him in Avengers here and there. That was about it. And my wife wanted to go see Thor when it came out. And I said, yeah, of course, we'll go. But I really wasn't all that pumped for it. And after watching it on the big screen, I kind of got obsessed and just started reading Thor like crazy. I got caught up. Brian Michael Bendis' Thor was fantastic. Some of the stuff in the Ultimate when he takes on Hulk is awesome. And now Thor is probably one of my top favorite Marvel characters. I just got addicted to him after that. Before that, I liked some Marvel characters, but I was always more of a DC guy. I was more Batman. I was more Green Lantern. Yeah, look, you shake your head. Who doesn't love Venom and Wolverine, right? I was 92 X-Men, and what else is better than a crazy ass alien biting some guy's head off? But for more the adult me, when I came back and really started Die Hard picking back up, Thor kind of said it for me. I'll also say Shazam. If you want to go DC, Shazam was pretty awesome.
I think the best adaptation of any comic is Justice League Unlimited and Young Justice. Just because, like, they followed the storylines almost shot for shot, and I think it was Bruce Timm's animation. Can't beat that, and it's just the stories are so good. And then they got to throw in so many obscure DC characters that you never see. It was just like every episode was like a new DC character. You're like, oh man, I thought I'd never see this person on a cartoon.
And that's the benefit they get. Like, obviously, what DC gets somewhat of, like, being able to create a lot of their own animation, because they didn't sell off a bunch of their stuff like Marvel did. But
and they picked up a bunch of old stuff.
Yeah, and the old X-Men TV show was the same thing. Was they were like, it seemed like almost every couple of episodes you introduced to a new character or a villain or someone that nowadays when I'm watching, Dark Phoenix or something like that, I'm like, oh, I really wish they could introduce it. Oh wait, they can't, because that's in the MCU. Or the opposite. I really wish they would have. Oh, they can't, because it's the same thing with, like, when I watch Civil War. I love the movie Civil War, but one of my favorite comic book story arcs ever is the Civil War in Marvel, and they weren't able to recreate it the same way on TV because of some of the characters. And Spider-Man reveals who he is as a person. Peter Parker in Civil War and all that stuff, and Spider-Man barely even exists.
I think one of the biggest missed opportunities in the MCU is not being able to use X-Men villains like Mojo. Yeah. Like, you could do so much with Mojo, and they're kind of teasing that kind of thing with that new Marvelverse thing that's coming on Disney Plus, where it's like different TV shows in different alternate universes. But I always thought, like, Mojo would be a great villain, because you can't really use your mutant powers in a controlled environment,
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
I think we broke Jay.
Yeah, I think so.
You over there?
Dude,
you guys freeze a little bit, but I can still hear you.
Hey, Paul.
Oh no, I'm listening. I feel like I contribute, like I get on the rambles and stuff, and I would rather you guys talk at this point.
Hey Jay, I got a question for you, Jay. How's that Simpsons tattoo coming along?
It's going pretty good, man. It's almost all healed. I'm done having to friggin' scratch it. I'm trying to see if I want to be able to show you, but I don't want you to have to just look at my disgusting pale thigh.
I was pretty impressed. I'm impressed with your work on my arm. I can't imagine tattooing my own leg.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
it's all those years of being a drummer, though. It worked out that I'm using all my different limbs. Because even Kimberly said that after I was done doing the tattoo. I said something about what I was doing and stepping on the foot pedal. And she was like, oh, yeah, you have to step on the foot pedal, too, while you're doing, like, everything else. I'm like, yeah, tell me about it. You know how much it sucks to, like, real quick side note, because you brought up tattoos. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'll be right back, okay?
Real quick side note is it has to be at a certain depth to, like, get the ink to go in properly. And so you're sitting there stretching skin and trying to make it right, but you're also like, this hurts. So you want to back up, but you're like, but it's not going to stay in as well. So I need to push through it and keep pulling this line as much as I don't enjoy what I'm doing right now.
And you're tensing up at the same time because you're pushing the foot pedal. So I can't imagine.
And at the same time, as a person going in there to get a tattoo, if I look at your leg and you have a fucked up tattoo on your
you're moving.
Well, it's also weird though because you'd be pulling a line and you're like, all right, no, I don't really feel it. Wow, I don't feel it at all. Oh my god, this hurts really bad. Wow, I don't feel that at all.
Now we know how we feel now.
Yeah.
That's always the worst part when you're getting a tattoo. You get used to it after a while, but then you get that one spot where it's like, oh crap.
Well, Jay will tell you. Jay will go, hey, that definitely hurts, doesn't it?
Where I was tattooing, where I just was like, I'm done. Like, I don't want to touch my. It hurts. Like, I'm good.
I just remember, it was down here. We were Oh, Justin, I can tell that hurts, doesn't it? That hurts. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'll say it for you, Jay, so you don't have to say it. Sign the petition.
Yeah, right? Please, my God. Well, at this point, I mean, what is that going to do? Like, for anybody that's watching, and I don't know, I could go on a rant forever. Sal, it's probably the same where you are. Like, I don't know, do you have tattoo artist friends? Like,
Oh yeah, locally, yeah. They're trying to get the shops at least to have like appointment onlys. You know, something where it's like there's only 2 people in the shop, and they just meet up there. But it's New York State, so it's always going to be a nanny state here. It's like 1984, so whatever you guys are going through, New York is probably like 10 times worse because it's like,
I'm sure. No, I'm sure.
They're super strict right now. Like they said, everything's going to slowly reopen instead of like Georgia where everything's open now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So May 15th, I think, is when everything's going to slowly reopen in phases. And it's like,
what
not
scares
excited
me about it, though, is it's just like, then you automatically, like, me and my fiance, we go back and forth because I appreciate that she wants to stay informed. But at the same time, I hate hearing about things that I cannot control.
Same here.
Like, so it's like when you keep giving me info about it, I'm just like, okay, great. Like, I still can't do anything about it.
Yeah, you get so pissed.
It's defeating. It's defeating. You're. I don't know. I want to live in a bubble, and I just want everybody I know and love to be fine. I want us all to be fine, and that's all I want.
Well, my father-in-law is always talking about politics and stuff, and I'm like, because I just don't care. I'm like, there's nothing I can do to change any of that. So let's have a debate about who's better, Superman or Batman. I could talk for
Batman.
Iron Man.
It's a trick question because
it is a trick
question.
What's
funny is on Monday I cut my hair because I was waiting for a haircut, and I cut my hair, and then Thursday, or was it yesterday? She comes out and says that barbers can open next week, basically. So my barber messaged me on Facebook, was like, "Hey man, you prepaid for a haircut, so you want to get you in? Do you want to get you in Monday or Tuesday?" I'm like, kind of jumped the gun on that one. I'll see you in a month. Get other people in.
Man, I haven't paid a barber in I don't know how long.
Dude, this man, I don't even know. It's not even so much the top. It's this part on the sides that I can't stand.
All I can think of right now is Tommy Boy when he grabs his hair and he looks up.
Every time I want to jerk the wheel. I just killed Bambi.
I haven't been able to do that since junior high? No, before that. It was probably like 5th grade. I haven't been able to.
Paul was a baby. Don't let him kid you.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get us caught up on comments real quick. Dave says he wants the turd baby, Paul. Gary said no, Paul. He has no more space. Dave said don't listen. She doesn't get it. Johnny says the Bruce Timm version is amazing. Steve Chase says hi, Paul. Dave says, Jay, I totally get that. On the Winter House podcast, I just ramble all the time and the guests don't say anything.
I've been on that show.
Let's see, Johnny. Speaking of tattoos, who remembers a monstrosity that was tattoo teenage alien fighters from Beverly Hills?
What?
I've never heard of that.
I have not either. Donnie says, one of our heads of security, just says, just want a haircut. Dave said, you should see my beard. Tony, how's it going, Tony? Tony says it's definitely hard for Dave to ever shut up. Jay, Dave said he's going to send you a picture of his beard via Facebook. Hold on a second.
Yeah, I'm looking for it. Where is it?
Hey, getting back to the Thor thing for a minute, I have something for Justin. Oh, I've had something for Justin for a while.
Oh,
Still got to get this over to him.
Yeah, I was wondering where
yeah.
it went.
Oh,
Jay,
here we go. Yeah.
I won that at the last year's
Yeah.
beer release at Gagan's.
Yeah, I bid on that.
Paul.
Oh, look at that thing. Oh,
Still
yeah.
Still, I keep it nice and safe in its case. Get ready to bring it over to Josh, and then Josh, obviously with what happens, so
Yeah.
like keep that nice and safe for when I do see you.
Jay, I am both terrified and strangely aroused right now.
Is that just me, or does that look kind of like a mugshot?
Oh, man. Oh, poor Dave. Dave, that is a monster beard. Holy cow.
Oh man.
Oh, poor Dave.
Did we want to accomplish anything, Will?
I think we're just kind of having fun, and it's that's basically what this is all about, right? Like,
Yeah.
we're all just.
Definitely.
I mean, I feel like a lot of the questions I do have between us together, we've all we've been kind of asking each other some of the ones I was going to ask. I do have one for Justin though. So for some of you who may or may not know, Justin, you design all of the beer cans for OBC?
Pretty much. I didn't do at the beginning our first 4. I did do Way Left Should Be. That's mine. But the first couple of them, Tubular, our flagship. My buddy Andy Hurt, who works for Orono Brewing Company as a part-time bartender, and some of the designers. He did the Way Life, Tubular. He did Van Life, one of Jay's favorite beers. The All Together label was for the fundraiser we did with Other Half Brewing Company out of Brooklyn, New York. Other Half got together and we raised money. Thousands of dollars have been raised for different organizations to help people during this COVID-19 situation. But yeah, so I do all the designing. I'm also the general manager of the restaurant, the brewery, the tasting room, all that stuff. But where I just ordered an iPad 11 Pro, so I can start drawing and doing some other stuff on it. And for my birthday, which is in a couple of weeks, my fiance got me the pencil, Apple Pencil, so I can actually do some stuff on there. But most of my stuff is digital. Most of my stuff is within, Photoshop, Illustrator, things like that.
You'll never use another pencil again.
Yeah, that Apple Pencil, man.
I got mine right here.
And I
That's what I'm using right now is my iPad, Apple Pencil, all that.
And so I'm excited to draw, do some more stuff like that. But a lot of it's just, can art and stuff like that now.
What's been one of your favorite labels that you've been able to design so far?
Honestly, we did a beer. It actually just came back out as a different version of it. My favorite label was a beer called Sweet and Dandy. It came out for our friend's wedding right when we first started operations at our current location in Orono. This summer will be 2 years ago. We opened the brewery part of our flagship location. And it was just a camping design, and it's a very flat design. There's mountains and the sky and all that stuff. I just loved it. So we came out with it a new label on a bottle. But that's one of my favorite ones. Stratosphere we did with Austin Street in Portland. That one's one of my favorite ones. They all kind of blend in. I mean, it's hard to make things different. I got some cool ones coming out. Actually, they're coming in Friday. But they're getting packaged up, I think, next week. It's a beer we did with the Portland Zoo in Portland, Maine. It's a restaurant or bar. And we did one called Don't Feed the Animals.
Nice.
And I did the
Tiger King.
The wording is in the Jurassic Park font.
Oh,
and then
nice.
every 4-pack will have 4 different cans in it. So 4 different cans in it. Same beer. But each one has a different animal print on it and some cool neon letters. So it'll be the first 4-pack we're doing that has 4 different labels in one 4-pack with the same liquid inside the can. So we're pretty excited about that one coming up pretty soon. So awesome. I have fun with it. It lets me do my graphic design background and marketing background, but also be in the beer industry and also get to talk to people and hang out with people. I work 50, 60 hours a week in that week. 20 of it's designing and working in the office. The other 40 of it's in the tasting room and restaurant. So I do get to have fun. And then I just released the new website last week for our Orono Brewing Company that I've been working on basically since I've been at home. At the beginning, I was like, now what am I going to do? Perfect time to redo the website.
Right.
Justin, did you really do any beer stuff before you started working at Giggins and then before OBC?
No, I was a marketing director in Massachusetts, basically doing graphic design, marketing, stuff like that. And then I moved up to Bangor in 2016 and was the marketing director for Down East Toyota over in Brewer.
Mm-hmm.
And but then I'm good friends with Andy Gagan. I've been friends with him since a number of years ago. And so I got back in there by weaseling my way into working the tasting room and on the packaging line, bar backing. And then I applied for the job at Orono Brewing Company and got that job. So I'm never going to work for another company. If it ends up being anything, I'll work for myself. But I had the most fun. I have great people around me, great ownership. I get to design stuff. I get to drink beer. I get to hang out with friends. I couldn't be happier there. So beer this is beer, but it's really a mixture of everything. I don't want to brew beer, but I want to make it so people are happy. When they walk into the store, I want you to see my label. I want you to see Way Life Should Be and be like, I want that beer because of the label. And it happens to be with that beer, with the Way Life Should Be, it's tourists all summer. When they come in, like, oh, that's the slogan of Maine. That's like, the mountains and the trees in Maine and the sunset and stuff. And they grab that one. So
sometimes that straightforward marketing is the way to go, though.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Jay just did the hop on Mike Durgan's leg, didn't you?
Yeah. So
your hop logo on the
logo that's on your hat right there.
Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome.
He's a character.
So you were
Michael.
You were kind of hitting on the beer collaboration that you're doing, and I know the last couple of weeks Jay's also been kind of talking a little bit about that. But can you kind of share a little bit more of what you guys are currently doing with that?
Well, yeah, we Abe had the idea to one of our owners, Abe, had the idea to create something that would help in industry with not just our tasting room employees and our people we had to furlough. So he was like, what can we do? Let's wait, let's see how things are going. And then Other Half came out, and said they were doing it. And Other Half is a company that's one of the most respected breweries in the Northeast, if not the country. And we visited them back in 2017 when we went to New York City for the first time. And they were the most gracious hosts, and they were very, very nice people. So they came up with this idea of doing the All Together beer, released the same recipe. It's a similar thing that Sierra Nevada Brewing Company did for the forest fires that were happening out west. They did a beer called Resilience, and they had let everybody across the country, whoever wanted to do it, brew it. You just had to use these certain hops and these certain profile to make the beer. So everybody makes the same beer, but Bissell did the same All Together beer as we did. Theirs tasted like their beer. Our tasted like our beer. So it's like it's their own individual beer, same recipe.
Would you guys use Simcoe?
We use a special. So everyone used Simcoe. We use a special one called Cryo Simcoe. It's a slightly different variation. It's more concentrated. A version of it. It's only because we didn't have regular Simcoe. We plan our brew schedule out long enough that we need to order these hops, and we didn't have that hop in stock. So in order for us to contribute to this, we had to do it with that Cryo Simcoe. So it turned out a little bit different than we normally would have, but we were able to raise a bunch of money. We had one of our most successful weeks doing delivery and pickup with that beer, and a lot of it was just people wanting to contribute. There's possibility that people bought 4 4-packs instead of 2 4-packs, just because they wanted the portion of that money to go to the Restaurant Workers Association. So we also did a T-shirt, which is available on our website, that all the proceeds from that go to the same Restaurant Workers Fund. So
that's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Great.
So while we're we're talking about beer. Go ahead, Jay.
No. I was just I'm just saying thank you for doing that. Everybody doing their part, throwing stuff out, trying to just help community, all that. It's great.
Yeah.
And it's the small things. I mean, for me, it's like on a personal level, there's small things that always help me. The Way Life Should Be was originally done in partnership with LL Bean. So we did a small thing. But there's days that I'm always looking at things and I'm going, oh my God, I just did a beer that has the word Other Half Brewing Company on it. My label, my portion of the label was just that green sliver. I had a can earlier. But that green sliver that has the OBC logo and the fork and a knife, that was only my portion of that label. Everything else they did. But Orono Brewing Company's logo, the company I work for, it's kind of hard to see, but yeah, and Other Half's logo is on the same can. And to me, that's a small victory because I absolutely love Other Half as a brewing company. The same thing when LL Bean put our beer out there saying, "Oh, Way Life's Your Beat was done with LL Bean." I'm so happy I was able to do something with LL Bean. When I go to Kittery, where I grew up, and you walk in this convenience store and there's a beer that I designed on the shelf. To me, it's like all those small things that I'm just like, oh my God, I feel like I made it. When I was in New York City, first time in New York City, I designed the poster for a trip. And I walked into a bar and a poster was on the wall in a frame because all their like advertisements for the were in a frame. And I looked at my friend and I go, hey, guess what? My art's hanging in New York City. But
that's trippy, man. Whenever you see your artwork somewhere, you didn't expect it to be,
No. And then you're critiquing yourself. I'm like, oh shit, I could use a different font, or crap, I should have done this different color. But
yeah, right.
So like while
Speaking
we're kind of on
beer,
go ahead.
Well, I'm just saying. Speaking of beer, my fiance and I watched Ben Bishop's his classes on lynda.com.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're going to learn how to draw some comic books over here. But that connection is Ben Bishop.
It's a
does the
drinking
cancer
show, and
yeah.
he just does drawings while he's doing it.
Yeah,
Right.
it's great, and it's just the way he explains it. He's very good at narrating. I mean, think about it. Some of these comic book artists, Sal probably knows, like the artist, you're not always very verbal, you don't want to. You're on this screen right now, but if you're an artist, a lot of times you want to be in a corner, don't talk to anybody. The number of times, you meet someone at a con that's an artist who doesn't want to be there, but they have to sell their art, or in like that. There goes aggregate. But
they're usually the ones that don't have any business either. So,
but and it's so funny because when I was listening to Ben talk, I was like, wow, he actually could have a job in just teaching classes. He's obviously he's making it as an artist, but the idea that he was actually speaking, and I'm like, they definitely could have, other people couldn't have done this because they're not as well versed as he is. So.
Yeah, you got to have the vocabulary and you got to have the persona for it. It's like pro wrestling. If you can't talk on the mic, you're not going to be popular.
Well, I'm the kind of guy who tries to teach someone something, and I'm like, why don't you get it? I understand how you can get it.
Understand already.
Well, I think that's a perfect example too, because mine and Paul's friend Jeff. Who's another local artist here in Bangor.
Jeff's awesome.
He, we'll be doing events together, and people will come up and just ask for advice or any tips on drawing, and Jeff's very willing to help and give any critique he can. He's like, then there's also people, which I won't mention names, but are absolutely amazing artists. Jeff's friend, that is an amazing artist that helps with the con, or is one of the artists at the con. Absolutely amazing artist, but is just let me stay in my bubble, let me be. I don't like talking. I don't want to I just want to sit here and draw and enjoy my time. Yeah, there's some of Jeff there. And speaking of, we saw the aggregate graphic novel, but as Justin was saying, some Mason's Brewing
there you go.
Beer,
yeah,
with Ben's aggregate logo. Got that down at Split Decision Comics. So, little shout out to Ben. We'll have in the coming weeks Ben, Troy Little, and Kevin Eastman as for one of the episodes. So that'll be really awesome. Ben and Troy alone are just a riot, especially when they had their whole America versus Canadian battles, things that they did last year.
Oh my God.
So just those two alone, but then you get to add in the fact that we'll get to have Kevin joining in, and the knowledge and experience and stories he'll be able to share with everybody will be really awesome.
And Troy is super Canadian. He's up there. Yeah, he's up in the wilderness of Canada.
let me tell you a little quick story about Troy. So, we had Troy as a guest last year, and we gave him the option. Kind of, you can we'll either fly you down, you can drive down, whatever is easiest for you. And he's like, no, I'll take the plane. That'll probably be easiest. Well, like you said, he lives in like this small little town in Canada, and it would have been like a 6-hour drive straight down. But the plane, for whatever. What was that, Jay?
I was saying if that.
Yeah, if that. But then the plane, instead of being like a direct, made it like it was like a 13-hour flight, and he went from like somewhere in Canada to like Michigan to like Pennsylvania, then Pennsylvania up to Bangor. It was just like
just took a big U-turn.
Yeah, it was just like
driving in circles.
he was just like, yeah. So next year. He's like, I'm just gonna rent a car and drive down. Yeah, by all means, man. Like,
yeah, well, because we were at the hotel afterwards, and we were just we got a pizza and stuff, and he's like, yeah, I'm leaving tomorrow. And he was telling me how long it took, and I looked on the GPS. I'm like, you live right there, like.
Hey, Spencer Wood's watching right now. So maybe we take a tip whip. Tip whip's the company that Spencer owns. Maybe take a tip whip up there.
Oh my God.
No, I think Ben and Troy will definitely represent each country just fine. Captain Canuck versus Captain America.
And it's just funny too, like, we talk about like the growth of people. Since BCTC started, and in year one, Ben was there slinging, probably had the aggregate, if not, it definitely Nathan the Caveman, and to see like, Ben back then, and then what Ben's now doing, and been able to accomplish. I
just bought this.
What'd you get?
Oh, nice.
Australia.
Yeah,
that was his first book.
That was awesome.
And it's just crazy to see like
No, I remember the first year at the first year I think he was only starting work on the aggregate. He hadn't even started the Kickstarter yet.
Yep.
And he was just kind of like working at it. He had like preview pages and stuff, but he was mostly selling the prints and stuff. And I remember him asking me like, "How did you get on the Turtles?" I'm like, I just did a variant cover, dude. Like, it's nothing. It wasn't anything spectacular, It's like I'm not doing the interiors, but
right.
Yeah, he's blown up like crazy though. Just it's awesome to see, your friends do good too,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's crazy.
And like,
it started as just some variant covers to then he's working alongside Kevin, and he was doing the aggregate blew up. Now he's got doing Drawing Blood with Troy and Kevin, and I think he got the very first Jenica cover, variant cover, introducing her. So it's just crazy to be able to see, and the same like Schmelke. I mean, he was another still local guy, but was just kind of doing his own thing, and now look at everything. He's got Murder Hobo that's out, the Electric Black, just announced today a whole nother horror series comic that's going to be coming out.
So when you have Bangor Comic-Con from 20 years from now, you're going to have us all come back and we're all going to be like curmudgeon middle-agers.
Yeah. We're doing it because you have to do it. Like, this is where you get retirement now.
This is my writer. I need all Skittles. All purple Skittles. I need green room access.
That's what I was at a con in Massachusetts, a small con in Massachusetts where Jim Steranko was at, and I felt like he'd be the kind of guy that would do that too.
No, it's like all the old like big time creators. They have these weird stipulations. It's like, I need to have this much per deal. It's like, okay. Exactly.
I tell you what, though, one of the most fun people I've ever talked to was Jim Steranko. Just listening to him talk about his interactions with Stan Lee and all this stuff about.
I definitely got a Mad Men vibe from Steranko. It's like I could tell he was the Draper of the Marvel office.
Yeah.
Like, hey, Toots, I could take this to the printer.
Take it to the bar.
Where if he was in an office nowadays, he would not be able to get away with anything he would say.
He'd be perpetually at HR, like. Jim, if you're listening, I love you.
Yeah, so we love you. Jay and Will now can't get Jim Strangler to come to Bangor, so we ruined that.
Right. Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
We
there
got
you go, Justin.
Trent says, "Hey guys, he said year one Ben had his Lost Trails, which Justin just shared. Hey Nicole, thanks for joining in. Bob Raymond, Bob does was a guest last episode. Does all of our artwork for BCTC, badges, posters, all that. Bob has joined in, so Bob, thanks for tuning in. We were kind of talking about you earlier when we kicked this episode off, so."
Well, I'm glad you talked about all the bad things about him while he wasn't listening.
Exactly.
like how he abandoned you guys.
I know, what's up with that?
You abandoned us. What the heck?
Just up and left. I gotta say, the great thing about Bob is he puts up with a lot of shit with me and Jay, or mainly me. But like, he'd be like, "Oh, hey man, like, can you do this?" He's like, "Yeah, probably. When do you need it?" Like, can you have it by like tomorrow?
Yesterday.
Yeah. Or like, I mean, you know, and he gets like,
well, the printers wanted it yesterday, so.
Or
You're like Jonah Jameson.
And it's like, you know, all of you guys know with doing these conventions, you know, things change just so quickly, and unfortunately, nature of the beast, we lose guests. You know, guests cancel, they get booked for something, you know. And Bob had finished our print for this year, and we're like, I messaged him. I was like, "Hey, so how tough would it be to edit something?" And he's like, "What do you need now?" It's like, well, we got this opportunity to have Jeff Anderson join in, for Clerks. So if we could get that added in, but I mean, last year I think it was, we had to. I think we had like 3 or 4 changes he had to make, and one panel where it was supposed to be Ryan Hurst had to get changed, and we had something else. It was like Tommy Flanagan, and then that didn't work out. And luckily, we ended up getting our good friend Cooper Andrews. So like that panel, like poor Bob had to go in at least 4 or 5 times and re-sketch out and change up.
Dude, you're gonna start getting like stick figures. Like, here you go.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Cooper Andrews, I'll tell you right now, one of the best guests you've had in a couple of years is Cooper Andrews. I mean, he was unbelievable. Just seeing his like waiting in line to talk to him and get his autograph and take a picture with him, and seeing his interactions with people and the different ways he was taking selfies with people and things like that was what you want at a con, especially the con the size of BCTC, where it's like, it's not this Boston Comic Con. You want it to be this more intimate experience where you feel like you can actually interact with these people. If I go to Boston, I mean, it's the story that Jay, you have about meeting Stan Lee. It's to like shuffle in, take a photo, shuffle out kind of experience in a big con like that. Yeah. Where it's like, you feel like you want that experience at BCTC where you have like Cooper Andrews, how's it going, man? Where are you from? What do you do? And so on and so forth. And he even wrote a funny statement on my autograph. Like, it just seemed like I felt I got more bang for the buck kind of thing with Cooper Andrews. No, I thought he was amazing.
I agree with you 100%.
That's the good thing about the smaller events. Like, I don't like going to big conventions. It's always just a cluster of just people, and especially now after all this, everyone's going to be super about that hygiene and like, hey, give me my 6 feet, people.
Yeah, photos where it's one person over here and the other person's way over here.
somebody's in the back with a computer photoshopping it.
Hold your arm like this. We'll put Cooper Andrews in right here.
I gotta say, back to Justin's point, I think out of all the years we've done this, probably if I had to pick like a top 5 of guests throughout the years, I would say Cooper and Doug Jones would be like that close, like number 1 and number 2. I just don't think we've ever, every guest we've had has been amazing. So like, not trying to take anything away or say anything bad. But we've just been very lucky with some of these. A lot of these guests just go above and beyond what they're asked to do, and really make everybody feel appreciated and take that time with them. And I remember, first year, I don't know if Jay still has a photo, but Doug Jones wouldn't even be sitting behind his table. He was standing up in front of it, leaning out, and just like talking to people when they would walk by, or you like was grabbing like Jay's beard and like making faces and just like making that very memorable experience. Right? Yeah, what beard? Jay doesn't have a beard. And like you said, Cooper just he had a special thing where it was Cooper because of him playing Jerry in The Walking Dead, and the whole cobbler thing, he asked that any convention he does they give out cobbler. So we had Con Mom Christina make up a bunch of cobbler, and Cooper was like giving it out and just standing at his booth having cobbler with people, like, yeah, just come hang out, have a fun time. Kel Mitchell was another great one. Kel and Sid Higgs, I would say, are like workhorses. Those guys were both, and it's funny because like total opposite ends. Sid being a much older gentleman, had a super long flight, crappy flight in. But it was like, no, I'm here to work. I'm not leaving my table. I'll go to the bathroom when I need it. You can bring me food here. I'm not leaving. I'm here to do my job.
Yeah.
And the same with Kel. Like Kel was at his table the whole time, unless he had a panel or photo ops. He had his own snacks he would eat at the table. And I mean it's just great to, because I mean, as all of us short of Sal, being Mainers, like we know like how hard a lot of people work for their money and how frugal they can be. So if they're going to spend money on something, they want to know like they're actually getting their worth out of it. And I feel like we've been very lucky with the guest that's been that case with everybody that we've brought in. Is they're treated as an individual, and they all take that time and talk with them, and it's not just like, yeah, sign this, move on, sign, move on.
But I mean, one of the benefits you get out of like someone like Cooper, like that he was the last. Do you know what I mean? So no one who buys tickets to the con ahead of time, don't worry about these last minute additions, because they could be one of the best ones you've gotten. Someone that you didn't have on the original roster came in late and became one of your best people to be there. So it's one of those cool things. I mean, if you were replacing with a person who was, uptight and like wasn't very nice to people or whatever, then it kind of sucks. So you're like, well, I lost Ryan Hurst, but I got, so and so, and they were a dick.
Right.
You got someone who was super awesome to your customers and to your attendees, in that they'll talk about forever. I mean, one of the things I'll talk about forever is my experience with Cooper Andrews. My fiance, I loved meeting her. It was fun. He was funny. He did a zombie different, like, it's a zombie over there. Let's check a walker over there. Let's do this. And it was cool. It was really like a cool, interesting, experience.
Yeah, and I mean, and just on top of that too, like, the week before, Cooper was in Germany for a convention and filming, was home for like a day, and then flew up to Portland. And then we had to, Jay had to drive him up from Portland. And, this guy, he went and took like a quick power nap. And then he was like, hey, like, yeah, let's go do this movie premiere. And, hung out before the movie, and they had the Walking Dead game at the theater, and was just letting people come in and sit down, and the theater was paying, for people to sit there and play Walking Dead with him. He didn't have to do that. He could have just stayed at his hotel or been like, yeah, I'll go in and make a quick appearance. But like, he hung out with people. He played video games. And then he even did, like, before the movie started, did like a little introduction to it. There wasn't a whole lot. It was very quick. And it was like not very well, I would say very well thought out, but like wasn't a very deep. It was just like, hey guys, I'm Cooper. Yeah, I'm in this movie. I've seen it like once. It's great. So yeah, let's check it out.
I thought so. My
pretty much verbatim.
The one that got me was I didn't get a chance to see him, so I did BCTC last year as a vendor. It was my first big show, and we stayed busy for it. So after the show, we're packing up, and my team and I are bringing stuff out. And Cooper was waiting, kind of like outside beside, and he's balling up, and he actually came over to me while I'm loading my vehicle and just shook my hand. He's like, "Hey, I didn't get a chance to say hi. I hope you had a good show." And that one caught me. Like, who as a guest takes that kind of time out to talk to a vendor at a show? That surprised me. Showed me what kind of person he was. That was really impressive.
Yeah.
Most of the time, they just dip out.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
So
right.
it's
Like my time's done. Like, get me to a bar.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want to go party now. Like, let me.
Well, at the really big conventions, all the celebrities are just gone. It's like
Yeah.
it could be like 2 hours before the show's end, and it's like, oh, they're gone.
Yeah. And here it was, Sunday afternoon after show, and we're packing up, and he's still, and he comes over to me. I thought that was cool. That was something neat. And one of my favorite stories I still tell you, Sal. So you were busy. You were doing a turtle cover. I got tickets and we went to BCTC. I brought my little girls with me, and you stopped right off what you were doing as soon as they walked up to the booth and started talking to them and asked them what their favorite Ninja Turtle was and all that. And my little girls are still to this day bring that up now and then. Remember that time? So you made an impact on them. I appreciate that, man. I thought that was awesome. So
Well, now when I see them again, I'm gonna be like, you got bigger. You must have been. Did you get some of the ooze?
that's right.
No, I
girl will be hooked. She's been watching old TMNT while she's been home.
Oh,
so.
that's awesome. No, the thing is like kids always remember those things, and as a kid, I always remember the better experiences than the bad ones. So I always try to leave that impression with kids. And honestly, when I see kids come up to the table, I want them to get excited, because half the time they get dragged to these things because their parents are the nerds,
Right?
So if you give them a little fun,
that future generation of it,
Yeah.
Keep them coming back.
Absolutely.
Keep this rolling forever. So
They'll be excited,
Yeah, I mean, another story like that, Paul. My brother Logan, who's been there all 5 years, volunteering, hanging out, doing whatever. He hasn't really helped young teenager. He doesn't really value things that much or care, or will be like, oh, hey, bub, you want to buy this autograph back off of me? I need money to buy a video game. One of the few things that he's held on to is, Logan loves Sal, and still asks about Sal, and some of the very few things he's held on to is some of the artwork that Sal's given him in signed form. And I remember they just redid my parents' house, and one of the first things Logan would put up was his artwork that he had me frame for him, from Sal, and still was like, "Bub, remember when Sal gave me this? Like, that was so cool." And and he's like, or I'd have some of my stuff from Sal, and he'd be like, "Well, I really like this one. Maybe we can trade." I was like, "Logan, you can just have this one. I can get another one from Sal next time I see him if you really like it." So.
I'll have a bunch of new stuff too. All this time being secluded, I'm gonna have so much new artwork.
Hey Johnny, are you still here with us? You still tuning in?
Lynch. Johnny.
Lynch? Yeah, is Johnny still hanging out?
I don't know, dude.
I hope Johnny's still here.
I've been trying to keep up with the chat, but whenever I load the chat, you guys freeze up.
Oh,
so
no.
I had to
my phone open.
Weird.
All right, so for comments, we've got Nicole said last year was nuts. There was more interactions last year than previous years. That's very true. Trent said, Sal, I had a blast last year. I spent a lot of Sunday at Sal's table. Nicole said, Sal is an honorary Mainer. Very true. Ryan said, good night, guys. Got to finish up some art. Until
Is
next
an
time.
honorary Mainer.
Yes.
Sure.
So
Hey,
Johnny
Paul
is
Eaton's
still
watching.
here. Paul Eaton's watching.
hey, look at me
Nice.
go.
Hey, Johnny is still
What?
here, so I'm glad that Johnny's still here. So before I get into something for Johnny, I just want to do try to make this a little transition thing. Jay, what do we got What are we drinking tonight?
Well, I was gonna drink these, but then I had them up, and we were doing all. So I just brought the OBC beers that we had already featured to show the All Together that we had talked about, and then the Van Life, because Van Life is like my favorite beer ever.
And you pretty much lived it for quite a while too, so.
Yeah, van life for sure. I mean, maybe there's like that part in it just from doing the band stuff and everything. Very nice, Sal. Thank you. And yeah,
It was supposed to be a happy clap, not
it's a slow clap. It's like a humoring me clap.
And Justin, you were drinking some Fruitful. You still drinking that? Or are you onto something else yet?
Fruitful. I got my ATP was my first beer, which is our 150 calorie beer. It's our low calorie, low ABV beer. Good for the summer. That came out yesterday or
you should
today.
call it Dad Bod.
That's
Yeah,
just beer.
ATP for was
That's
annual
how I'm
training.
rocking that, man.
We're all rocking
I'm
that.
looking at
What are you
mine,
talking
but it's
about?
like mine's like a stay-at-home dad bod right now.
I've officially reached 60 degrees out. Hopefully, I can still wear a sweatshirt today, bud.
And Paul, you
Dude.
had a big glass over there. What are you over there drinking?
Oh yeah, so I've got the way life should be.
Hey.
Rocking out some
Very
OBC
nice.
tonight.
Paul did his Galactic Comics like their celebration after the grand opening at Orono Brewing Company.
Yeah, I did, man. I
Nice.
appreciate
Yeah,
it. You
that was
guys did
fun.
awesome. You treated us great.
It was
Oh,
awesome.
That was fantastic. Went up. My whole family went up. A lot of my friends came up, and you guys had the superhero stuff out. Every screen up was playing a superhero movie. There were comics out. We had the whole top floor to ourselves. It was awesome. My kids went down and destroyed your ping pong table, probably. So,
That's fine.
You'll get an invoice
so it
for
was
that
great. It
later.
was an awesome time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You're gonna pay in comic books.
Yeah.
Sal,
You're like,
what
wait a
are
minute, I knew that thing got broke.
It looks like Sal's got the Diet Pepsi going on over there.
Yeah,
you?
yeah. There's nothing in it though. I wish.
So hey, real
Even the
quick,
low hop stuff.
real quick, we got Johnny here. Johnny has been coming to BCTC every single year. Was it John? Year one? Was it Ash? Remember the Ash versus Evil Dead? Seen you walk around in that. I'm sure he'll comment once the video catches up. But anyways, Johnny's been here since year one, a huge supporter of BCTC. Shares all of these videos, is always watching and commenting. Tomorrow is Johnny's birthday, so just wanted to do a little, shout out to Johnny, happy birthday.
Happy
Do a little-
birthday.
Do a little
Birthday,
cheers
Johnny.
here while everyone's got their drink, whether
Cheers.
it's soda or whatever.
I sucked mine dry already, but
Yeah, well,
It's all right. Cheers.
it was Ash. So cheers, happy birthday, Johnny.
Cheers, buddy.
I'll be Ash Ketchum. It's an
Ash-
easy
I want to see
cosplay.
that movie.
It's an easy cosplay. It's just
Ash Ketchum versus Evil Dead.
Ash Ketchum versus Evil Dead.
Evil Dead Pokemon. Charizard, what's wrong with you?
Oh man,
Yeah, Johnny said he was Ash, so yes.
nice.
What is that? All right, guys. It's about 10. I personally have to go inside, but if you guys want to keep doing your thing, you're good to go.
Yeah,
I gotta head out too.
I think
but,
we're good. I mean, we basically hit like that 2-hour mark almost. So we can definitely just call it here. If everyone's good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah,
So-
February's gonna come real
I
fast.
wasn't trying to end it. I just
No.
I had to step out.
It's
no, so
perfect
yeah, well,
timing.
no,
No,
this
you're
is
good.
good anyways. So real quick before we do end it, Justin, if people want to get some of OBC beer, what is the best way to do that?
Right now, OrnoBrewing.com. We're doing delivery Wednesday through Friday, and then curbside pickup on Saturday. It's a really good way to support if you want to get your beer. There are places you can get it around Bangor and stuff like that, and other places in Maine. But like, if you want to support us, like if you want to get it, Cal, one of our bartenders and our sales rep, will deliver it to your doorstep as long as you live within a certain region. You check it out on but yeah, online. That's how you can get our beer.
Awesome.
Cool.
And Paul, as far as Galactic Comics goes, best way to get a hold of you?
Best way is right through Facebook right now. You can call the shop if you do leave a message. The phone number is right on the Facebook page. But easiest way is right through Messenger. hit me up because I can try to keep track of that pretty much all the time. So whatever you may be looking for, I can see what I can do. We're doing special orders. I'm still pulling stuff in the store. And I'm doing curbside service by appointment. I'm not really staying right here at the shop specifically, but if anybody needs anything, absolutely hit me up and we'll take care of you.
Awesome. And Sal, before I get to you, Justin. Oh, never mind. You already replied to Trent.
I replied.
So you're all good.
I'm on it.
And Sal, you're doing a number of things. So between somebody wants to get artwork, are you doing any commissions right now as well?
Yeah, I'm doing the commission, mostly the sketch cards, because it's easier to ship that right now. And then smaller, 8x10s, 11x17s, I could do those as well. Right now I'm working on a couple, doing a board game, a children's book, and then I am doing my YouTube channel. And then I also stream video games on Twitch. So just kind of keeping busy.
Awesome. And so the best ways to, if they wanted to watch you on Twitch, YouTube, what are your handles for those?
It's Otero Studios. So if you go on any of those platforms, I'll be the first one to pop up.
Awesome. All right. Thank you guys so much for taking time to join in. Thank you everybody
thanks for having
watching, sharing, liking, commenting. Jay and I will be back Saturday at 8. And don't forget, next Saturday, we will be having Catherine Sutherland, Pink Ranger, joining us. So
May
tune
9th,
in.
right?
Yeah, May 9th. So tune in. Get your questions ready. She's absolutely amazing. Got to meet her last summer. And it's going to be a lot of fun. So, yeah, thank you guys for joining in. Thank you guys for being guests. And we'll see everybody Saturday. Have a good night.
All right.
Thank you guys.
Take care.
See you guys. Thank you guys.
It was good seeing you guys.
You too.
See ya.
Outro.